Welcome to Sonicview XP Learning Center. In this video number 3, we will show you an overview of the individual modules or processors within a Sonicview and how they operate. There are many different ways really to get into the module, and the easiest way, or one of the easiest way, is that, like, for example, if I wanted to choose some modules that are available on channel 17, just touch 17. And then here's your module screen with all of the selections. Let's go back home. Another way to do it is hit select and hit select on whatever channel you would like to access as far as the module processors go. I'm choosing 17 again here, and there is 17. Let's start with EQ. So Sonicview, it's already on. By the way, if it's off, you can turn it on. Sonicview actually has a very powerful 4-band, fully parametric EQ. And the easiest way probably to get going or started with the EQ is to touch library. And if I touch library, there are presets. I touched preset here. Notice the blue illuminator here and the blue color on the dial, and I can scroll through some of the presets that are on the EQ. Here I'm going to choose acoustic guitar, and we want to recall that. I touch recall, and yes, it's in. It's got a nice little slope, slight slope, around 350 hertz or so. On the EQ, it's made mainly for an acoustic guitar type situation. Of course, you could use it for other things as well. So it's a good starting point. Now, let's say you want to do some of your own editing or tweaking with the EQ. I recommend personally that you start off with the lower block. The lower block here are the core fundamentals of the EQ, meaning the frequency and the gain. Frequency gain for all 4 of the bands. So, for example, notice the color coding. This one is yellow here, the one that's got a little bit of drop on that mid-frequency. You could turn that, it's in fine mode or coarse mode, by pushing in the knob and instantly adjust that a little more to maybe what you need for the speakers that you're using. Or you can actually take the frequency selection and move that back and forth. So all 4 bands are color-coded. This is the low, the red. Again, same situation. Choose the frequency you would like to affect. Gain down, chorus, if you push it in, gain up, so on and so forth. One other very cool thing with the Sonicview parametric EQ is that let's go to the high frequency, which is green. And I'm going to choose a high frequency, up around 6 or 7K. You'll notice that every band in Sonicview can overlap with the other ones. So I'm taking the high frequency using the coarse mode by pushing the button in and literally choosing it anywhere I want. So you can have all these intermingled EQs going on simultaneously. Next, I started with the low block. Let's go to the block above it. Those are the Q factors and the type of slopes that you use for every band. So for example, red, Q, red, change that. You'll see I can make it a really, really distinct notch filter or really widen it up. I'm pushing in the knob again for coarse and get a really very wide selector there for the EQ. And that's possible for several of the bands. Let's go to the green here and change the Q on that. And the mids. So there we go. Okay, also what's available on the EQ on the screen is the RTA, the real-time analyzer. It's great. You can see how your EQ corresponds to whatever's coming in on channel 17. Here I have the internal SD card player playing real-time. It's source material, because Sonicview has a stereo recorder player built in addition to the 24-track multi-track recorder. And there you can see that. It's very handy. So RTA on or RTA off. Also very handy is you can turn a band on or off at will. So I just turn the high frequencies off while I'm listening to the music, and I can also see the RTA. And so the low mid, the high mid, all have on-off selectors. There's a high-pass filter. I turn on the high-pass filter, and you instantly see the contour of which frequencies are going to pass and which low frequencies are going to be held back. And if you'd like to change the frequency point on that, you touch that, turn that, and the screen reflects that very nicely. So that's the high-pass filter. Let's turn that off. At any time, and the RTA off as well, at any time if you feel that you kind of went a little bit too far, you kind of got lost, you kind of lost something that you had, and you want to start again, you can hit flat and flatten out the EQ, and it just goes back to flat, and you can start again. Let's look at the compressor. Turn on the compressor. Let me turn off the player so I don't have the input going on. And upper left takes me back one page. The compressor has all of the goodies, all of the parameters that you need to do professional compression. Right now it is on. Everything is color-coded as far as the parameters go. You could start with a library again. You could start with a kick drum, for example, and choose that, hit recall. Yes, I'd like to recall that. And Tascam has a preset in there, which we feel is a good preset or a good starting point for a kick drum compressor. Of course, you can change anything that you'd like along the way. The gain can be changed, the release, you can change the attack, the mid, the ratio. You can also use the pen or your finger to change those things as well, and the threshold. So that's all alterable with either a pen or your finger, okay? And finally, there is a professional auto makeup function. So auto makeup, what that will do is that when you use compression, it tends to squash it. Auto makeup will add the dB gain back, but still retain the compression automatically. That's why they call it auto makeup. It literally makes up the gain loss or drop using a compressor. There's a key-in source available for the compressor. Right now it's assigned to self, which means it has no external key-in, and it's as easy to choose a channel or a group of channels, let's say an entire mix 1 in this case, to be the key-in source for the compressor. I'll put it back on self. Let's hit the upper left, and then there it goes back. So that's a very great function as well. Now, you'll notice in the lower right here, it says comp. If I touch that, the compressor can be a ducker. So now we have a ducker instead of a compressor, and with all of the corresponding parameters that you can change to affect how much of the ducking you want to be applied to channel 17. All right, that's the compressor. Let's go back. And the ducker. Finally, de-esser. De-esser can be a gate, an expander, or a de-esser. I went to gate, let's keep it on the gate. So the gate also has presets that you could use. I'll hit library. I could just choose a standard noise gate, hit recall, and there it is. There's a good starting place or a final place for a gate to be used. And again, you have color coordinated parameters that you can use depending on how you'd like the gate to function, decay, hold, and all the good stuff as well. Let's choose lower right here. Let's go to the expander. An expander does the opposite of what a compressor does, by the way. It expands the audio rather than compresses it. So it literally does the opposite. That's why they call it an expander. And again, you have all the parameters that you can grab and use depending on how much expansions that you want or not. And I'll show you the one last thing, the de-esser. De-esser removes the sibilance at specific frequencies. There are de-essing libraries here, or presets, I should say. So one of them is called DS Vocal 4K. Let's recall that. Yes. I did that by hitting Library and then just choosing the preset. And here you can see that there's a pretty deep notch at 4K to take out that sibilance. And you could change that by using the different frequency selector and how much Q that you would like to apply. Really severe de-essing notch there. All right, finally, there is input select. So Sonicview 24 XP, 16 XP have the ability to assign any input or inputs to any channel on the input. Right now it's set so that 17 is, the default is going to channel 17. Dante, which is built into a Sonicview, is set as a default to go to channel 17, as is slot 1. Slot 1, don't forget that the Sonicview 24 XP and 16 XP both have dual user expandable slots on the back. And they come with the IF MTR32 expansion board with the product, which is a 32-track, multi-track recorder and player. So right now the slot 1 is already pre-installed. That's the way it comes from the factory. That's assigned to 17, as is USB channel 17 is assigned to 17. If you would like to change that, let's hit analog here. Let's hit others. Let's go to analog input on the screen top here. And I can choose analog channel 1 to go to 17 or 13 to go to 17. You can totally use the matrix mixer type situation on the inputs and have anything go to anything on a Sonicview. Other things on the input which are nice, there's a high pass filter here, even though it was already on the parametric EQ. It's nice to just go to input and audition that, or just turn that on and then touch the frequency, which I already did, and then choose a high pass filter there. I'm going to turn that off. The trim here is available. If you wanted the phantom power, you can hold that and turn that on. Now, intentionally, we make you hold it in case you have an expensive ribbon mic in there and you didn't really mean to do it. So to turn it off, like the same thing, you have to hold it for about a second and a half. And here's where you can apply stereo link to different channels. And here's the analog gain as well. So there's a quick overview of the modules processors on a Sonicview 24 XP and a Sonicview 16 XP.